These are all of the attacks that are happening across the world right now, and notice how many of them are actually going towards the United States or whatever country that you're in, really. So the question is not whether or not you will get attacked or if you will get attacked. The question is when you get attacked, and the company that you work for or the entity that you work for, when that company or that entity is going to get attacked. And when a company or a country or any organization or a person gets attacked, the response to that and the management of that incident is going to be very, very important. So this is what we're going to be talking about today, which is the introduction to incident response and incident management, which is a very, very important topic. And this is a part of managing incidents module that's inside of the TryHackMe pathway for security engineers. So we're going to be talking about the intro to IR and IM, then we're going to go with logging for accountability, becoming a first responder, which is a very important role in cybersecurity, and of course cyber crisis management. And these are very, very important topics when it comes down to cybersecurity. Most likely you're going to end up in some kind of an incident response or an incident management role at some point in your career, especially if you're planning on being in cybersecurity on the pen test or on the defensive side. Doesn't really matter. Incident response and incident management is a very important topic that happens because attacks are happening all the time. As you look at it, this is literally happening all the time between different countries. If we look at the United States, you look at the different or the source, I guess, is the United States attacking different countries, and then you have the source being Russia attacking different countries. So it's like it's happening literally all the time to different destinations, different organizations, different countries, and this is not a small topic. So this is something that you need to be very, very aware of, and you need to be very good at responding to and managing responses to. So that being said, let's actually jump into the introduction of this particular course or this video and the objectives that we have. So the basic understanding of IR and IM, understanding the difference between response and management, understanding the different roles during an incident, understanding the process of incident management, and understanding the common issues that occur during an incident and how you can prevent those things from happening to you. So a prerequisite for this is Intro to Defensive Security, which is something that we have already recorded. And if you haven't seen it, you should definitely go and check it out. It is going to be on our channel. So all you got to do is just go search right here to Intro to Defensive Security and you will find the video for it. So without further ado, let us jump into the actual content of the course. All right, if you don't already know, a cyber incident is really something that happens in the cyber world, in the digital world, and it could be any things that can happen. What happens during a cyber incident or what happens in a cybersecurity environment is you have the Security Operations Center, and in the Security Operations Center, there's a bunch of different teams, and it could be the analyst teams, it could be the IR team, the incident response team. But what happens is that there's events that are being monitored, and if there's an event that is an anomaly or unexpected, basically it could be a 0-day event, it could be something that is out of the baseline, out of the ordinary, an alert is generated, and then the alert could be a false positive, obviously, so it could just be something that happened because the system wasn't detecting what it should be detecting, or it was too sensitive when it was configured. But if the alert is not a false positive, if it's an actual real alert, then that is now considered to be an incident. And in that situation, there needs to be some kind of a response. And that incident could lead to severe damage if it's not caught properly, and if it's not responded to accordingly and with enough urgency, so on and so forth. So this is where it becomes a very, very important topic, because as you saw from that map, incidents happen all the time. There are people and organizations that are attacking countries and different companies all the time. And there needs to be a team in place that knows exactly how to expect these things, and you maintain your cool and you maintain your composure as everything happens so that you can go ahead and properly respond to that incident. Now, when you look at something like that, when there's an alert that's been generated, the basic set of questions that we need to be answering is whose account was used when that kind of an alert is happening, where did the logon occur from, where was that account being used before the logon, and has there been any other potentially anomalous activity seen within that account? And they're specifically talking to, in this particular case, something obviously that was relevant to one particular account. So an alert was generated that an anomalous logon occurred to one of our servers, and we need to answer a bunch of different questions. So if somebody tried to log onto the server from an account that is out of the ordinary, that's basically what anomalous means. It's an anomaly, it's out of the ordinary. And when something like that happens, we need to be able to answer some of these very basic questions to try to figure out how to respond to that incident. If it's severe enough, if there's sufficient severity, the alert can be turned into an incident, and then we're going to respond to various types of incidents, and there's levels to this. So when you see level 1, level 2, level 3, those are the types of stuff that they hire for. When they want to hire for a level 1 incident responder or a level 2 analyst, when you see stuff like that, that it's actually referring to the severity of the level that that person is going to be dealing with. So incident response and management has two different types of categories, essentially. The first is incident response, and it covers the technical aspect of dealing with an incident. This is the portion that's responsible for answering the main question. So one of the big questions, what just happened, right? And to answer this, you can look at a lot of different techniques or technologies to be able to try to figure out, depending on the specialty of the person. And usually inside of a security operations center, there are people that have different specialties to try to address individual cases that come in. So EDR stands for endpoint detection and response, and we've done a video on that as well. And AV, I believe, is antivirus. The EDR could alert that there are different attempts made to monitor the keystrokes of a user, and that's something that would be a specific technique that was used. And so how do you respond to that? A network tap alert provides alerts for anomalous network activity. For example, there could be an alert that a host is scanning other hosts in your network. That's a big deal. SIM alert. So security information and event management, we've done multiple videos on this as well, which is a software essentially that does analysis of a bunch of different logs that are being housed in one software. So it condenses and combines a bunch of different logs, and it goes through all of those logs at the same time. When that happens, an impossible travel rule, for example, when a user's account is being logged in from 2 different countries simultaneously. So it's like, it can't possibly be that this person is right now exactly is in the United States and they're also in Mexico or whatever. So when that happens, that's an alert that comes in from the SIM. So when the alert is created, there's a lot of information that comes through any of the softwares that you're using. And the first step is to investigate the info to make sure that it's not a false positive, to understand what's actually going on, who's being targeted, so on and so forth. And there's a lot of information that's attached to these alerts. For example, like the geolocation or the last time that it was logged in, the user's account that's being used, the history of their logons. There's a lot of information that's attached to a particular incident or an alert. And sometimes the information isn't enough, and we have to gather more information and actually go into investigation mode. And that's very, very important. And that specific process is called digital forensics. And this is another part of the incident response cycle. So there's digital forensics, incident response. DFIR is a whole other world as well. And so somebody who's on the digital forensics team, they're mostly going to be doing investigations. So hands-on investigations, as you can see right here. And that could be recovering the hard disk from the infected host to see how malware got in there in the first place, recovering the data from volatile memory, so the computer RAM, which is the memory that gets wiped typically if you turn off the computer, so you got to recover it really quickly. It's more important to get the RAM memory than it is to get the hard disk memory, believe it or not. And then recovering the system and network logs from a lot of different devices to uncover how the malware was spread within the network. So the overall goal here is to try to understand the scope of the incident, what was used, what different assets were attacked, and if you don't understand that scope, the process can't go further to take the rest of the steps that it needs to. So that's where incident response mostly excels, where it covers, right? Both of the extremes are obviously damaging, and if we misunderstand the scope to be larger than what it is, then we could authorize more drastic action than required, and that could be the intention of the attacker. They may want to psych you out and make you think like it's much bigger than it actually is, so that they distract you and you use a lot of your resources to handle this one thing, and as they've created that diversion, they could be attacking some other resource. If you misunderstand it to be smaller than what it is, then you don't take enough action, and now they really go and cause some serious damage. So that's a really big deal. The first attack might seem like it's really large, and you respond as if it's really large, and the next attack you're like, oh, it's probably not that bad, and you don't respond as if it's really bad, and then now they got you. Incident management covers the process of dealing with the incident. This is the portion, that's responsible for answering the primary question, which is how do we respond to what just happened to us? So triaging the incident and accurately updating the severity of the incident as new info is available, and getting more stakeholders involved, more different teams of the company involved to help with the incident, and such things as subject matter experts, guiding the incident action through the use of playbooks, deciding which containment, eradication, and recovery actions that need to be taken to deal with the incident, deciding the communication that will be sent internally and externally while the team deals with that incident, documenting the information about the incident, such as the actions taken and the effect that they had on the dealing with the incident, and closing the incident and taking information to learn from the incident to add to your lessons learned document and improve future processes, meaning improve your playbooks, right? So every time that something happens, you got to document everything extremely well so that you can add it to your playbooks and your lessons learned, so that in the future, if it happens again, you know exactly how to deal with it. This is very, very important, right? So it's a lot of times mistaken that only technical skills are required to deal with these things, and management of an incident is just as important as the technical skills to respond to the incident. And we'll be talking about that in a little bit. So levels of incident response and management. This is what I was talking about earlier. So a user has reported a phishing email, for example, in this case. So I'm really just going to skip this because it's not that big of a deal. They're just saying not all alerts just like not all alerts are equal, all incidents are also not equal. That's basically what this entire paragraph is saying. So as we have different types of alerts, we also have different types of incidents, and this is particularly going to be demonstrated for this one example. So we have a phishing email that has been reported, and so a level 1 would be a SOC incident, a Security Operations Center incident. They're not even classified as incidents because they're usually just a purely technical thing. Upon investigation of the example, the analyst finds that it's an isolated event and therefore simply updates the mail filtering rule to block the sender. And these levels can happen several times a day and are usually quick to deal with, and the analyst deals with it themselves. So that whoever caught it, they handle it themselves. So in this example, a computer emergency readiness team, so a CERT team, may be invoked at the investigation, found that several users received the email, which takes us to a level 2 incident, which is the computer emergency readiness team incident, so a CERT team. At level 2, several analysts may be involved. A CERT incident is one where we don't have enough to raise the alarm bells, but we're still concerned that there could be additional investigation needs to be done to determine the scope of what just happened to us. And usually the analyst would request assistance, and more people from the SOC team would get involved. In this example, we would be investigating if any of those users interacted with the email. So if they clicked on something, if they downloaded something, and we need to understand what the actual download does, if it's a Trojan, if it's a worm, all that stuff. So if we were to stop the incident before any users interacted with the email, we can usually stop at this level. But if we find out that they contain malware and somebody clicked on it, or a few people clicked on it, then we have to go to the CSERT team, which is the Computer Security Incident Response team, which is a level 3. So it gets more severe. As we go on, it just gets more and more severe. So at level 3, the entire Security Operations Center is placed on high alert and actively working to resolve the incident. At this point, the entire SOC team will focus on the single incident to deal with it. Analysts and the forensic team work to uncover the full scope of the incident, and the management team is taking action against the threat actor to contain the spread of the malware, eradicate it from hosts where it is discovered, and recover affected systems. If the team is able to stop the spread of the attack before any disruptions can occur, or the threat actor can escalate their privileges within the estate, the CSIRT team will close the incident. However, if it's determined that the scope is large enough through investigation, then we would take this to the crisis management team, which is the highest level, the CMT team. And crisis management is a big one. So at level 4, all hands on deck. Everybody is trying to figure this out because it's a full-scale cyber crisis. The CMT would usually consist of several key business stakeholders, such as the entire executive suite, members from the legal and communications teams, as well as other external parties, such as the regulator or police. Furthermore, at this level, we start to move into the territory of what is called nuclear actions, rather than simple actions to contain, eradicate, and recover. And this team can authorize the use of nuclear actions, such as taking the entire organization offline to limit the damage. So very, very, very important. And you notice, this one, a single person can handle it. This one, it's a couple of people handling it, and they maybe notified the management. This one, management is helping a few different people. The entire SOC, the entire Security Operations Center is on high alert, and everybody's taking care of it. This one, the entire company is on high alert, and everybody's coming in to try to figure out what just happened. And if necessary, they're going to shut down the entire network just to make sure no bad damage is done. And that in its entire, like that by itself, having to shut down the entire network can do a lot of damage to a company because it's stopping business from running. So the benefits of incident response and management, if you haven't already figured it out, is that it's very difficult. Obviously, it's not cheap to do something like this. It's also difficult to tangibly explain to a business why they need something like this. But the cost of an incident can be very, very heavy. So it's not just a big company problem, just to kind of put it into perspective. According to the National Cybersecurity Alliance, only 60% of small companies that have suffered a cyber attack close their business after 6 months. Roughly 60% of small companies that have suffered a cyber attack close their business after 6 months. They shut down. They go out of business after 6 months. You got to understand how big of a deal that is. So obviously, it's important to have an incident response and an incident management team, a security operations center. It's like very, very important because it could save you from going out of business. It's pretty crazy. So the first question right here is, at what level of an incident would the SOC, the entire SOC, be placed at high alert, which was level 3? At what level of an incident would be classified as a cyber crisis, which was level 4, the highest level that we have to deal with? And which component, incident response or incident management, is responsible for trying to answer the question, how do we respond to what just happened? And that would be incident management. And which component is responsible for answering the question, what happened? And that is incident response. So we are now, we should have a good understanding of what incident response and management is. So we're now going to talk about the different roles of this, and we actually have a site that we can also interact with as we go further down this path. So the first role in a SOC team or an incident response team is the SOC analyst. And the SOC analyst is essentially a single person. So you're going to become a SOC analyst. It's a single person sitting in front of a computer, responding to alerts and events that happen in the Security Operations Center. And there's different levels of this. So you can have a level 1 analyst, a level 2, level 3, etc. And usually the person, or more often than not actually, the SOC analyst is the first person. It's the foot on the pavement, or the feet on the street, as they say. It's the people who see the incident first. They see the alert first. And then they're the ones that determine whether or not they can handle it by themselves, or they need to bring the SOC lead, which is the immediate supervisor. And the SOC lead, or the SOC manager, the head of the SOC, is responsible for dividing the tasks in the SOC and deciding to escalate an alert to the level of an incident. And usually the SOC manager understands the technical information required to perform an investigation to better help divide the different tasks during an incident. And usually this person sees everything that everybody on the team sees, and they only step in when something is pretty serious. More often than not, the analyst should be able to take care of it, and the lead is just overseeing what's going on. So if you can imagine that this person has one screen in front of them, this person probably has 20 screens in front of them, depending on the size of the team. Then you have the forensic analyst, which is the person that performs an investigation to better understand what happened. So this is the digital forensics team. This is the person that comes in to do the investigation. And digital forensics that must be investigated by reviewing artifacts such as the memory or the hard drive of a device. And then you have a malware analyst, somebody who's actually very good at code and understanding how malware works. And these guys often have significant technical capabilities to debug and decompile malware to understand how it works. And they often help to uncover indicators of compromise, IOCs, that are signatures of the malware that can be used to identify the malware in the environment. And then we have the threat hunter. This sounds just like a very cool title. A threat hunter is a person that actively tries to uncover new threats in the environment. The goal of threat hunting is to try and create new alert rules based on information available in the logs and other sources. By performing threat hunting, an alert would be generated that could help the team discover an attacker that attempted to use the same technique. And then we have the first responder. So the first responder, this is not necessarily not the SOC analyst, because the SOC analyst is truly the first person that gets to see the alert and the incident. The first responder is somebody who is responding first to something that has gone from an alert to an incident. A lead could technically be a first responder. The forensic analyst could be a first responder. So in certain cases, it isn't actually the SOC that is the first alerted to an incident. Often a cyber incident could have started a business as a business incident, For example, a product team discovers that their application has slowed down and isn't responding as it should. In these cases, the team becomes the first responder to the incident. While they will not be expected to deal with the entire incident by themselves, there are some key steps that the first responders should take to ensure that they don't compromise information that will be required to better understand the cyber incident. So it could be the people that are actually literally working inside the company and they're not even in the security operations center. Those people could also be the first responder. You have the security engineer. So this is the path that we're on, the security engineer path. They're not directly involved with the security operations center, because security operations center is more of the defensive, the analyst part of the center, but they can be involved in the incident. Security engineers are responsible for security of the division, application, or system. In the event that there is an incident in their area, they will often be relied upon as a subject matter expert to aid in the investigation, and they will often work closely with the SOC to ensure that the SOC is receiving log information from their division. And then this is where we get into the upper management. So you have the ISO, the Information Security Officer. The ISO is responsible for the security of the division. This is usually more management focused than technical, such as security engineers. ISOs are often involved in incident as subject matter experts and responsible for acting as the bridge between the IR team and their division, that the team will have to implement the actions provided by the incident response manager. Let me figure that out. I just zoomed out too much. Let's go fix that again. And then we have the incident manager, which is the person that was trained in performing the management duties for incident response and management. Incident managers have to be exceptional in note-taking and organized to ensure that everything during an incident is properly documented, that the processes are followed. Then we have the project owner. A product owner is usually the person that takes lead during the development of a solution. In the past, with the waterfall method, if you saw what we were talking about with the secure software development lifecycle, we talked about the waterfall method and the agile method and ultimately the DevSecOps method. In the past, with the waterfall method, products were only released after they were fully completed. However, today, using agile processes or also DevSecOps, products are released and continuously updated. As such, since a version of the project is already live, as a team is still performing development, incidents can already occur. In the event of an incident, the product owner is often called in as the subject matter expert to help with the investigation. And then subject matter expert, this one is kind of a gimme, so you should understand what that actually means. Active Directory could be a subject matter, and then there could be the Active Directory manager that would be the expert for that. The domain admin is technically a subject matter expert. And there's a lot of different things. I mean, there's so many different portions of a business that the head manager of that specific department would end up being the subject matter expert. Then you have the crisis manager, which is the lead for the crisis management team. It's usually the executive, such as the chief information officer or the chief operations officer, and they're responsible for ensuring that the crisis management team functions as they should and deal with the crisis. And the executive would be anybody like the chief marketing, the CEO, the COO, the CIO, CTO, chief technology officer, and the chief information security officer, the CISO. So these are the various members of a incident response. So we're going to go through the actual view site thing, which apparently we're just going to be matching the title with the various people. So let's see what we can do here. So this person investigates alerts in the SIM to determine if these events are true positives and an incident should be raised. We're going to say that this is the SOC analyst. Can be a member of the crisis management team and responsible for making difficult decisions during the incident. And we can say that this would be, okay, so it's the executive. That was very odd. The team that is called upon if the incident is sufficiently serious that there may be significant business impact. I would say that is the crisis management team. The team that is called upon if the incident is sufficiently serious that a full investigation is required. That would be the security. I need to bring that down here, right there. So CSERT. And then what's the next person? The person that first discovered the incident and has to follow a specific process. That would be the first responder. Let's see if we can scroll down like that. And then someone that has expert knowledge on a specific field. So that's definitely the subject matter expert. And so we can do that. The business owner of a specific application or a service. That would be the product owner in this particular case. And then we are only left with one person at the end. So the person that performs a detailed investigation is our forensic analyst. It could be the digital forensics analyst or the forensic investigator. And that is what we got. So here is our flag. We're just going to copy the flag and paste it here. And we are good with this one. So let's now move on to the second piece, which is the process of incident management. All right, incident management has a process, believe it or not. Usually people or organizations cover their own, but there is a lot of different frameworks or templates, I guess we can call them. And one of the biggest one is the NIST incident management process, which is the National Institute for Standards of Technology, Standards and Technology, I guess. And this is their incident handling guide. This is a giant document, or relatively, it's 79 pages, and it's something that you can get for free. NIST has them. There's a lot of different organizations that have them. I actually went through a Google cybersecurity certification, and they provided documents for every single country. So various countries have them. Actually, here, let me see if I can pull it up real quick. All right, so here's our document, and then if we go to the countries down here, so this is what we got, right? So we got the UK National Cybersecurity Center Incident Management. Then we have the Australian government, the Japan government, the Canada playbook, the Scottish playbook, and I think, is there another one? I think that's the only one that these are the only ones that I saved. But there's a lot. I mean, there's literally so much stuff for each country that is available that you can go and check it out. And this is just a sampling. I think these are like the biggest or the most commonly used. But of course, Russia will have one, China will have one, although I don't know if China will publicize theirs. But the incident management process is something that probably the company that you work with or the entity that you work with will customize. They'll go based on these frameworks and then they'll customize it according to their own, because it's also industry specific. And depending on the type of environment that you have, if it's a mainly physical or mainly digital, a lot of these things is going to be specific to the company and the organization that you're in. So preparation is the first one, detection and analysis is the second one, containment, eradication, and recovery would be the third, post-incident activity, and then that goes back into preparation. So post-incident activity updates the playbook, and the preparation is a part of the playbook. When you have a really good playbook, that means that you are prepared. When you rehearse the steps of the playbook, that means you're prepared. And then you have a good intrusion detection system. You have a really good SIM or a really good team that's on top of everything that's going on. And then when they immediately notice that something has happened, they contain the incident so that it doesn't spread through your network. They eradicate the person that might be logged in remotely, or the malware that may have been downloaded. They recover any systems that may have been affected or any data that was lost. And then they detect again to make sure that everything's all good now. And once it's all good, then you go into post-incident where you document everything that just happened, what you did to contain, eradicate, and recover. And then from there, you can go back into preparation and making sure that people are on top of their game, go back into detection and analysis, so on and so forth. So that, I think that by itself is really good. So I'm not gonna really read through all of these things, but these are just some key bullet points that need to be done, which is identifying and documenting key stakeholders and call trees that will be used during an incident. So who are you gonna call? Who are you gonna tell? Ghostbusters, create and update playbooks that aid the team in following a set process for incidents with a known nature. So things that you already know how to respond to. This is exactly what you're going to do as soon as that happens. If it's a 0-day type of an incident that you've never dealt with before, you need to know what's going on in that situation. Exercise the team's ability to deal with an incident through tabletop exercises and cyber war games. This is basically rehearsing. And then continuously perform threat hunting to help create new alert rules based on modern attacker techniques. Then you have detection and analysis. And this is something that is done through your AntiVirus software, through your endpoint detection and response software, through your SIM software. All of these different intrusion detection system, intrusion protection system, all of the different softwares and platforms that you have to help you in detecting something, and ideally they'll help analyze for you as well. Like Splunk does a good analysis of something as it does the detection, and then you do a forensic investigation of the artifacts both on the systems and of the network, and analyze the malware that is discovered to better understand how it works and create new signatures that can be used to identify it in the future so that you know exactly how to respond to it, so on and so forth. Then you have containment, eradication, and recovery. Containment means stop the bleeding, right? To contain it, stop it from spreading. Eradication means delete the damn thing and get it out of your network, get it out of the system. Recover means get the thing back to working order or back to the state that it was before the attack happened, so that you can progress business as usual. The reason why these things are split into 3 phases is because the order matters. Obviously, first you contain, and so one of the big things, like one of the really big rules for containment is if you find out that a computer has been infected, you unplug the computer from the Wi-Fi, or you turn off Wi-Fi, you unplug it from the network. You literally stop it from spreading across the rest of the network. You contain it inside of that one device. This would be the same thing as putting somebody in quarantine. If somebody was sick and you found out that they're sick, you put them in quarantine. You don't let them leave the room until you know exactly what you're dealing with and how to proceed, right? And then once you've contained it, so it's in that one device, you eradicate it from that one device. You wipe the device. Or if you know exactly what the specific thing was, in my opinion, like the safest way is to just wipe the damn thing and then, do a backup so that you can just reinstall everything that was on there based on a backup, so you can be guaranteed that the thing is no longer there. So we finally have the post-incident activity, which basically update your playbook. We want to evaluate what happened during the incident and have lessons learned and improve how we deal with these things in the future. So when you learn from the incidents to prepare yourself, that's what you do in post-incident activity. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to open the new site and we're going to go through this particular situation. So this essentially is to go and in order, right? So welcome to Incident Management Lifecycle. You are stepping into the role of the engineer and you just want to put these things in the correct order. So first is preparation, and then you have detection, and then you have analysis and triaging. And now that you've analyzed and what's going on, the first thing is to what? Contain it. And then once you've contained it, you eradicate what just happened. You recover the system or the network, and then finally post-incident activity. That was an easy one. And we can now move on to our final piece, which is the common pitfalls during an incident. All right, one of the big things that's a common pitfall or a common mistake is insufficient hardening. And hardening is when you secure a system or you secure a network, you harden the network. So organizations usually need to prioritize speed and profits over security. They don't need to, they do that. They typically prioritize speed and profits over security. So when that happens, security ends up being an inconvenience or a hindrance for an organization. But as we discussed earlier, 60% of businesses, especially small businesses, and a small business, so check this out, right? What is considered a small business in the US? And this will blow your mind. So a small business is a company that has 500 or fewer employees. So if you have 500 employees, you are considered to be a small business. And that's insane when you think about it. $5 million or less is one of the things that is also measured to see what is a small business. The last number that I saw, this is what the one that it was. It defines small business by firm revenue ranging from 1 million to over 40 million, and from 100 employees to over 1,500 employees. This is insane. This was what happened in 2021. So I guess they've kind of updated that because these numbers right here are based on 2024. And this is NerdWallet versus the census.gov. So I would go over the census.gov definition. I would choose that versus the NerdWallet definition. So it could be a business that does $40 million a year, and that's considered a small business. And based on the statistics that we found earlier, 60% of those businesses go out of business 6 months after being hacked, simply because of the fact that they didn't take the time to set up the teams or the infrastructure so that it's secure, and securing their infrastructure and prevent themselves from going out of fucking business. That's insane when you think about it. So once the solution has been deployed, the organization simply moves on to the next one. However, in security engineering, there's an important step called hardening, and this is being proactive. So once the solution is deployed, there may still be some configurations that didn't adhere to security best practices, but were performed to get the solution up and running faster. And the hardening process reverses these configurations to bring them back in line with security best practices. In the event that this is skipped, the likelihood of incidents is increased. Therefore, the business is now more vulnerable and it can increase the amount of incidents, the volume of incidents that happen, and most of those things can actually be stopped, but it's still literally it's such a slippery slope. It's one thing, just one successful incident can put you out of business. That's crazy when you think about it. So the hardening step should not be skipped. To make it easier, organizations have started to perform hardening during the development rather than simply at the end. This is the shift left principle that we went through the secure SDLC, and this is also already done. So this video is already on our channel, the secure software development lifecycle, and this is the shift left principle. It's based on a graph. I'm not going to go through it right now. Go refer to that video just so you can understand what shifting left means. And I think there's actually a timestamp in the video that goes to shifting left. So you could, if you wanted to, you could just skip to that portion. Then we have insufficient logging. So logs, they're not fun. They're not exciting to talk about, but they can save you. They can save your business from going out of business. The first to have received the relevant information ends up being in a log, and the blue team is the person that is alerted to it. If there are not adequate logging that's happening, it can be considered as flying blind. So you don't know what's actually going on because you don't have the logs to it. So the blue team doesn't even know that something is happening, therefore they don't know what to respond to. So a common problem is the cost of ingesting log information, and therefore SIM is the tool that comes in that charges clients based on the amount of throughput data. This then results in organizations limiting the amount of logs that they're being ingested, because the SIM, if you go over 10 gigabytes, it'll charge you a different, and that's just an example. If you go over 10 gigabytes, it'll charge you at a different tier. If you go over 100 gigabytes, it'll charge you at a different tier. So that is what that they mean based on the amount of throughput of data. And so in order for the organization to save money, they stop ingesting as many logs. Therefore, their cost is lower, right? So if I choose less amount of logs to ingest inside of my SIM, then the amount of data that's being ingested is less, therefore my costs are less. So they do it to save cost. But obviously, if somebody is really smart, they'll go and attack you on some kind of really like not remote, but like I'm forgetting the word here, but this kind of abstract, let's say. They attack you from a place that you're not looking at commonly, and therefore they get past your SIM because they know that you're cheap, right? And you want to save money, which is crazy to think about. So if there is not enough logging, they can only be detected after there's an impact, when you're already in your digital forensics and response, and you're trying to figure out what just happened to you. And you can't prevent it, the damage is already done, so on and so forth. Then there is insufficient alerting or over alerting. So if you don't get enough alerts, that's a big problem because you don't know what's happening. Over alerting is also a big problem because now you think everything is wrong and there's too many things to respond to, and so now you're wasting resources. That's basically all you need to know in this particular case. Insufficient determination of the incident scope. So this is a big one because you don't understand what is actually happening across your network. You don't know who is being affected or what is being affected and how bad the effect is. So if you don't know who's being affected, or you miss a computer that was affected that was very, very important, or you miss something that happened to you that was very minute but it's still in your system now, all of those things is the determination of the incident scope. A scope could be the number of devices that were affected inside of the network, or it could be the type of attacks that were used against your network. So when you think about those two things, if you're not determining, or if you're insufficiently determining what's happening, then that's a really, really big deal, and it can cause a lot of damage, right? So insufficient accountability is also something that falls under this category, and this is kind of that Spider-Man meme where there's like three Spider-Men pointing to each other, where it's like, no, it was you, no, it was you, and nobody wants to take blame, nobody wants to be accountable for what just happened. So there's containment, eradication, and recovery actions, And during these incidents, actions can be discussed, but not where one person is going to be made responsible for doing all of the actions. So this often leads to growing as everyone thinks something has already been performed, which in fact it has not been performed, because there was not one specific person that was dedicated to doing that action, or everybody assumed that the other person was doing it, and then nobody ended up doing it. So that's a big deal. Then you have insufficient backups. This one's kind of, I mean, this is a given, and this is super, super easy to understand. If you don't have a backup that happens regular, so daily, you can say daily backups are important. For a company like Microsoft, they probably do hourly backups. It's like backups are so important. And I worked for a guy who didn't have any backups, and he'd been in business for a very, very long time. And one of his computers crashed, his main computer crashed, and he lost everything. And to get that business back up and running was such a pain in the ass. And obviously, the guy didn't want to take responsibility for it, so he put all the pressure on his general manager, and the general manager was super fucking stressed. So this is one of those things that could so easily be avoided if you just spent a little bit of extra money and set up what you need to set up, and have the hard drives and the storage set up to just back up the stuff that you need to back up, at the very least to keep you functional. Maybe you don't want to back up everything because it takes too much space, but you need to back up something where it is functional at the very least. And then sometimes the backup is not sufficiently isolated, meaning since you want it to be available quickly, you don't isolate the actual backup, or you don't put it inside of a safe. So, you take the backup, you put it on an external hard drive. The external hard drive is still connected to the computer, or the external hard drive is just sitting on your table. And if it's a high availability disaster recovery type of an environment, or it's basically a disaster type of an environment, now your hard drive is at risk, and now you lose your backup. It's insane to think about, but that actually really does happen. So this is one of those big things that you need to understand as well. So let's go into our final piece right here, which is the introduction to incident response and management challenge, the third one. So the mission is to survive for 1 intense minute. The strategy is to duck or jump by holding up or down key. Oh, this is an actual game. It's going to be nice. So duck or jump by holding the up or down key. Obstacles, avoid them, obviously. Clues for high scores. Time is ticking. Make sure that your score is positive to get the flag. This is exciting. I'm excited about this. I am super excited about this. So let's see what we can do here. Start the game. All right, this is going to be it. So no hardening is a bad thing. Training the SOC is a good thing. Logs were not kept is a bad thing. Jump over that. Threat hunting is a good thing. Alert not created is a bad thing. Determine the scope is a good thing. Scope misunderstood is a bad thing. Respond to alerts is a good thing. Refine logging is a good thing. Document later is not a good thing. No backups is not a good thing. This is such a it's so bad at responding, like it doesn't immediately jump. So I don't know exactly. Action everything is probably not a good thing. Update plans is a good thing. Log everything is not a good thing, as we established. What else do we got? Run tabletops, definitely a good thing. Document actively is a good thing. Log what is required is a good thing. What else do we got? Oh, that's the whole thing. We passed. Score of 1,000. That's right, motherfucker. What's up? Yeah. Cool. And that is it for our video today. Boom and boom. Complete. Super excited about this one. So hopefully you learned the basics of incident response and why it's important to understand the different roles during an incident response, or the different roles for the incident response team, the difference between response and management, the process of incident management itself, and then of course the common pitfalls during an incident that causes a lot of bad damage to happen to a company. If you got any value from this, I would very much encourage you to join our community. So like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and drop a comment. Our comment section is banging. Let me tell you, there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the comment section, and it would be very, very awesome to hear from you as well in the comment section. And this is a new one that I gotta respond to. So I respond to all the comments that come in, and I think it's very, very important to keep active with the community. And I would very much love to see you inside our community, and to have you be a part of this really awesome environment that we're growing. So like, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and drop a comment as well, just so I can hear from you. And just say hi, what's up. If you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's your boy Hank Hackerson at Hank Hacks Hackers, your favorite network and system attacker / protector. And if no one else loves you, Hank loves you. Love, peace, and chicken grease. And I will see you in the next video later.